Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's Lunch and Learn. I'm Lauren Smith with the International Franchise Association, and we have a great 30 minutes lined up for you. Before we begin, I would like to let everyone know that we are recording today's webinar and will make it available later this evening on community.franchise.org. If you have any questions for today's speakers, please add them to the chat box and they will be addressed towards the end. Today's topic is Champions of Brand Management, how to remove negative reviews and best practices for review responses. Here to provide today's discussion is Bryn Gibbs, founder and CEO of Consumer Fusion, and Mark Spencer, Chief Operating Officer at Consumer Fusion. Thank you, Bryn and Mark, for joining us today. And thank you, Consumer Fusion, for sponsoring today's Lunch and Learn. I'll go ahead and turn things over to you.
Thank you, Lauren. Hello, my name is Mark Spencer. I'm the Chief Operating Officer here at Consumer Fusion. And we have Bryn Gibbs, founder and CEO of Consumer Fusion. And Consumer Fusion is an all-in-one reputation management solution. And our big specialty, and this is kind of the topic we're discussing today, is negative reviews. We've removed over 70,000 negative reviews, photos, and questions across all the major directory sites, along with a platform that we do provide to automate owners' responses. So we do have some great information that we're going to discuss today that will cover negative reviews, disputing negative reviews. So the great thing about today's discussion is you're going to identify what a negative review is. You're going to learn how to dispute negative reviews and why you need to respond to your online reviews, which is extremely important. We're going to give you some really good nuggets to deploy through your brand and your business to respond the right way, and also some good things in regards to local SEO. And then we're going to show you some good examples and bad examples of how to respond to reviews. We've seen it all, so we will definitely bring that to light in regards to the way you can respond to the reviews. So here's a very good statistic that everyone should know and understand, that hitting negative reviews head on is extremely important. 80% of consumers say a negative review has deterred them from visiting a business. The unfortunate part is a lot of potential clients might not even pick up the phone and tell you they were going to go to you and not book that appointment. They're just not going to pick up the phone and go to your competitors. So it's extremely important, A, to hit your negatives head on, but also to get that owner's response up immediately. Now, not only that, but consumers gravitate more towards negativity than positivity. So 55% of consumers are more likely to read a business's negative reviews first. As you know, we're going to be discussing Yelp a little bit, and Google and Facebook, Glassdoor, and Indeed. But as you understand, people do gravitate towards the negativity. And with that negativity, we want to make sure we have all the pieces in place to make sure that consumer picks up the phone and books that appointment with you guys as opposed to your competitors. So the first thing is, a lot of people, and we have done a lot of surveying in regards to negative content. It is not a myth. Negative reviews and photos can be removed from all the major review sites such as Google, Yelp, Facebook, Glassdoor, and Indeed. Now, the reason why we incorporated Glassdoor and Indeed is right now more than ever, especially coming out of the IFA, employee poll is at an all-time high in regards to having a microscope on that. And so with that being said, Google, Yelp, Facebook, Glassdoor, and Indeed, they all have terms and conditions of their own review site of the violations of a negative. And with that being said, Google, Yelp, Facebook, Glassdoor, and Indeed do not have the manpower to police those terms and conditions and hold those terms and conditions to those review sites. So it is possible that you can remove negatives, and we're going to go a little farther into what is a negative that can and violates those terms and conditions of those review sites. Now, with that being said, reviews that violate those terms and conditions of the review site can be disputed and removed from the internet. This also applies for photos, Yelp tips, and Google questions. A lot of people drop into those questions on your GMB page or along with your Yelp tips. Those can reflect negatively, especially in photos. As you know, with the Yelp gallery, there might be some negative photos of a possible work being done for your business, and that is displayed heavily first before even the reviews. Now, negative reviews don't only affect potential sales for customer, but also franchise sales. So we see not only if you guys are trying to sell franchises or if you're trying to hire within the franchise system, people are kicking the tires more now than ever across not just Google, Yelp, Facebook, but they're also looking at the corporate headquarters reputation. They're also looking at Glassdoor and Indeed. So it is very, very important on how negative content and how it affects your business and also your brand across the entire digital space. Now, identifying illegitimate reviews. While you're like every individual directory may defer in terms of what considers is inappropriate, the majority all kind of have the same common denominator in regards to the high rate of removal. So we see this more than ever in franchising, spam and promotional material. That means, hey, we might have a potential consumer that wrote a negative review about one location, and then they spam across multiple other franchise locations, or writing a negative review and promoting the competitor across the street. Personal rant from a former employee. We see this a lot in regards to maybe a disgruntled employee was let go because of they violated your guys' terms and conditions. And so they go online. It is against terms and conditions of each and every one of the review sites that an ex-employee or former or current employee can write a negative review about your business. Not a firsthand experience. So like my wife went to that electrician and had a horrible experience, or my wife went to that burger joint and had a horrible experience. That is not a firsthand experience, which is a clear violation of those terms and conditions. Reviews from the wrong location. A lot of people just Google the business name, and then whatever pops up first, they go right there and they start writing the review. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean it's the right location, as we all know. So that is also grounds for removal. The last two have really popped up more now than ever. COVID rants and labor shortage. So COVID rants, and we will show examples of this, of, oh, I walked in and that employee had a negative or had a mask under their nose. I don't want to go here, don't go here. Also with labor shortage, we see a lot of the times the employee pool is extremely hard to actually employ through the business hours that are presented on your GMB or your Yelp pages. So if someone shows up at 8:50 and you guys close at 9 o'clock, they're saying, hey, I showed up at 8:50, it's, and it's already closed. Well, that's not really a firsthand experience. So these are the ones that we're really identifying as low-hanging fruit in regards to removing and identifying these illegitimate reviews. Now, here's some examples of illegitimate reviews that we've pulled up. One right here, you can see, I saw your employees moving furniture in that building, and I live in without wearing a mask. This is irresponsible and disgusting. This isn't really a firsthand experience in regards to that service that's being provided. We see a lot of the times in the service industry, learn how to drive, that 731-002, you're lucky I didn't follow you. People getting cut off on the road, that's not a firsthand experience. Unprofessional place to work for Karen, exactly, an ex-employee. So here's some good examples of low-hanging fruit, is how we call it here at Consumer Fusion, in regards to we can flag it, and we'll go into how we remove those negatives. But I want you guys to understand, here's some examples of illegitimate reviews. And I'm sure there's a lot of questions that you might have towards the end of this lunch and learn in regards to maybe something that's borderline in regards to this. So we'll touch base on that a little later. Also with Glassdoor and Indeed, as you understand, we mentioned in the past couple slides that ex-employees or employees cannot write negative reviews. Well, Glassdoor and Indeed is slightly different. They are employees or ex-employees, so that's not really grounds for terms of removing the negative. But what we see on Glassdoor and Indeed is extreme rants, picking out maybe a manager or an owner and going extremely overboard. And we've been successful in helping out with those negatives as well with Glassdoor and Indeed. So here's some of the examples that went into extreme depth. And after this, you guys will clearly get a copy of all of these slides as well, so you can get and understand more content to what we're talking about. Now, the next thing is Bren, the founder and CEO of Consumer Fusion, is actually going to dive in deeper. So pull out your pens and papers, and Bren is going to take over on the exact following the steps on how to dispute negative reviews.
Thank you, Mark. Hi, everyone. I'm Bryn Gibbs, like Mark said, the founder and CEO of Consumer Fusion. I apologize. My voice is so hoarse. I had way too much fun at IFA last week, and I am still recovering, as I'm sure many of you are. I see lots of friends on here. Tim, Karen, Mary, Madison, Mary. I said that twice. Hi, everybody. Okay, so, and thank you for being here and helping support us today to learn a little bit more about what we do here at Consumer Fusion. So when it comes to flagging and disputing negative reviews, don't get emotional with it. The support at all of these different review sites, all they care about is the content within the review and then the account activity associated with that review. Business owners often get kind of heated and worked up, and they go tit for tat about what actually transpired with that customer, and you're just wasting your breath. You can have a review that's 3 paragraphs long, and there's 2 sentences or even 2 words that violate their guidelines, and you can keep it short and simple and just identify the simple violation, and that can result in getting an illegitimate negative review removed. So that's always our advice, and why support actually prefers to deal with third parties when it comes to disputing for possible removal is because we stick strictly to the facts of the content violating guidelines. Okay, so we'll dive deeper into how you can reach out to support at each site, but every legitimate review site has support for reviews. Your sites like Ripoff Report, Pissed Off Consumer, those are not true consumer review sites. Those are more kind of public forums for rants. But all of your consumer-friendly review sites like Yelp, Google, Facebook, TripAdvisor, etc., have support that you can reach out to in regards to disputing a review and bringing it to their attention. Go ahead, Mark. So with Google My Business, if you only manage a handful of reviews, you can access this portal through your GMB. If you, however, manage, they don't give you an exact number, but we usually see it around 30 to 35. If you manage more GMB listings than that, they have you work with a different support process. But we'll send this link to everybody because Google rolled this out a little over a year ago, but it allows you to dispute from within your GMB account. You can flag the review depending on their wait times because they have slowed down with COVID. It's anywhere from 3 to 7 days. You can follow the progress of your dispute here. Now, with this process, when you flag a review, it's just going off of Google's own AI in regards to assessing the review. That's not going to have a moderator actually review the review that you flagged. So after it's flagged, if it gets denied, that is when you will want to dispute the review and argue with Google support to get the review escalated to their specialist team for review for possible removal. And at this stage, this is when you can actually explain why the content within the review or the account activity violates their guidelines. When you initially flag, you only have the option to just select from a list of why the review violates guidelines. And like Mark touched on, what Google and Yelp have you select as possible reasons for why they violate are pretty general. So it's things like off-topic, spam, promotional material. The initial flagging doesn't allow you to drill deeper, and 9.5 times out of 10, you have to drill deeper and manually follow up and actually argue why the content of the review or the account activity violates guidelines. So what you're looking at now is just kind of like, it's okay, Mark, you can keep going, the different progress of the GMB flagging when you're doing it through a Google account that does not have several GMB pages published within it. So if you manage over 50 GMBs, this is not going to be where you go to dispute reviews, but for anybody under that volume, this is the stages that you can expect to see. You'll see underneath decision, it'll say decision pending or report reviewed, no policy violation. And then underneath there's a little bullet where it says appeal eligible reviews, and that's where you'll click on and you can actually explain why the content of the review violates guidelines. And circling back to Google support is in India, so there is a little bit of a language barrier. Less is more. The more direct and to the point, the better. So many people think that, oh, I'm going to have my attorney draft up this argument and fight on my behalf. You don't need to get that extreme with it. A simple this review was posted by this individual's neighbor. This violates your guidelines. Please escalate to your specialist team and actually say those terms. Please escalate. That way they know what you're talking about. Normally, how Google brings in new employees, they train them in this department first before they advance to other PPC type of customer support. So 9 times out of 10, you are going to be dealing with newer Google employees when you're disputing reviews. So Google, you can dispute a review an unlimited amount of times. Our company record is disputing a negative review 27 times before we got Google to agree to remove the content. Every time you open up a new dispute, you work with a new moderator. So look at it as like a different jury in your case. So here at Consumer Fusion, we don't give up. We will redispute negative reviews over and over for our clients. So I encourage you to do the same. Especially if you just get an automated response from Google telling you that the review doesn't violate and they're not going to remove it. If it were my business, I would dispute it every day until I actually was successful in getting it removed. So I definitely encourage you to be persistent with Google support. You will find that moderator who will work with you and help you. Yelp, different ballgame. So with Yelp, whether it is you flagging it or just a general consumer flagging the review, once it's flagged, Yelp support reviews it, and they have legitimate support domestically who reads the review. It's not done through AI. So if they deny and reject removal, you can have one more attempt at getting them to reevaluate a review in question. So what you're looking at here, and again, we'll send all these links to you, but this is how you can request a second look at a Yelp review that has been denied. And this process is a little bit slower than just flagging the initial review for the first time. This has about a 1 to 2 week turnaround time. But when you initially flag a Yelp review, in the subject, there will be a case number. So you'll copy and paste that case number here. That's how Yelp support can look it up. And then you can actually drill down and explain why you want them to reevaluate and assess the review one more time. It's beyond frustrating when you're a business owner and you flag a review that violates guidelines and you get an automated Yelp response within 5 minutes saying a Yelp moderator has already reviewed this review and has decided that it does not violate guidelines. We're keeping it intact. Because again, once it is initially flagged, their support will only review it once. So this is a little hidden secret and gem that I'm sharing with you all because you're our friends and family in the franchise circle. So again, we'll send this link out, but it has definitely helped us remove some unfair reviews for our clients. Okay, so following up on disputed reviews. So Yelp is actually very thorough when it comes to responding to disputes, but Google, they're so big that they just do not have the proper ticketing system to communicate to businesses how disputes, kind of how the process is going. So you're going to want to consistently check your star rating and check to see if any of your both positive and negative reviews are missing. With the GMB process that we showed you in the slides, when you manage 30 or fewer GMB accounts, you can expect to get automated alerts after flagging from Google and after the initial decision. But again, once you're actually doing the disputes, I would say 1 in every 5 get responded to. So it's something that if you are being proactive and consistently redisputing negative reviews for removal, you want to manually check on the reviews and the Google emails, the threads. If you reply to them, the ticket number is automatically saved in that email. So they will know which case number you're referring to. But pay attention, if it says no reply, that's going to be an automated email that won't get you anywhere. Okay, responding to online reviews. Mark's going to take this one, but this is something that I cannot encourage you more to do. We get so many negative reviews removed for our clients by proactively and promptly responding to reviews. So Mark, I'll let you take over from here.
Thanks, Bryn. Very informative information. And we are going to do a test at the end of this. So make sure in the chat, you're going to answer all the questions right. So real quick, this is another thing in regards to the 80% of consumers actually deter going to your business because of a negative. Well, not only that, but a higher percentage, 90% of consumers read business owners' responses to negative reviews. Not every business is perfect. So as you know, consumers want to say, well, does the consumer's information really care to the business owner? And with that being said, yes, it does. The consumers want to see the business owner react to that negative review. And so we're going to dive in a little bit farther in regards to why promptness is very, very important. And not only that, but Yelp's data science team reviewers reviewers are 33% more likely to upgrade the review if they respond to a review within a day. So time is of the essence to respond to these negatives and also to positives, and I'll go into that in a second. But it is very important because imagine putting yourself in a consumer's standpoint, and within one business day, you're getting a response from maybe a negative experience you had at a restaurant or with your electrician or with the home service or with, whatever it may be. And that business owner is reaching out to you to rectify the situation. You might maybe take that a little differently in regards to maybe that ex-employee or that employee at your location might have not had a great day and might have rubbed that consumer the wrong way. So it's very important to reach out in a timely manner. Now, here's some of the best practices for review responses. You want to respond to all your reviews, both positive and negative. Now, remember, I see a lot of the times people are just on the defense with negative. These people that are positive and went to your business and enjoyed their experience, they took the time out of their day to write the review. That's very positive. Just like on all social sites, when people wish you a happy birthday, you want to take the time out of your day to turn around and thank them for wishing you a happy birthday. It's the same thing with reviews. You want to respond to all reviews, both positive and negative. Now, not only that, but you do want to respond within 24 to 48 hours of that new review hitting that review site. Now, not only that, but the third bullet point is crucial in regards to local SEO, and Google loves the algorithms that they do pick up in regards to A, responding to the review, but B, you can always take this advantage of including key category words to boost your local SEO. So if it were Bob and Bob wrote a positive review about you, you can say, hey, Bob, thank you for the 5-star review. We pride ourselves on being the best plumber in San Diego, California. Thank you for the kind words. Those key category words in your owner's responses are definitely going to help propel you to try to get you organically ranking in your area or your service area. Now, even if it's a negative, an example is, hey, Bob, we're so sorry you had a negative experience. We pride ourselves on being the best plumber in San Diego, California. Please reach out to and always provide an email and a phone number. So that way, a potential consumer that comes across that review sees that, man, you reached out, you're trying to rectify the situation, you left a contact email and a contact phone number. Now that consumer is more apt to still pick up the phone and book that plumbing appointment versus, oh, no one responded, no one really cares, I'm going to go to the competitor. Now, to respond to a positive review, all it takes is a sentence or two to express your gratitude. Responding to a negative review requires a little bit more careful approach. I have seen so many times franchisees get too emotional within their owner's response, and it almost now turns into not just a negative, but a double negative. And so we're really making sure that you take a careful approach on how you respond. And that's where we're going to go into best practices of responding to negative reviews. Now, you always want to express that you're empathetic without directly admitting fault. B, you want to find a way to take the conversation offline by offering to reach out to them or reach out to that unhappy customer privately. Now, it's possible to work with the customer to get them to update or remove the review. Now, with Yelp, you can see that second bullet point right here. With Yelp, you can privately message that Yelper to try to take it offline to rectify the situation. Now, we've also seen, now remember, anything in Yelp can be snapshotted from a phone or a screenshot from a computer. And then we see the Yelper update the review saying, oh, this business owner is trying to bribe me. So remember, be very methodical in regards to how are you responding privately to that customer, because it can always be public knowledge, especially if that consumer is extremely mad. Now, be aware that customers pay attention to the way businesses handle the responses. So if you're starting to point fingers, let's start looking in the mirror and saying, hey, maybe I did something wrong, or we understand it might be a competitor, but let's take the high road in regards to making sure that we go back to number one, express your empathetic and empathy without direct admitting to fault. Now, here's some good examples of what not to do. If you're looking for a great contractor to install a pool for you, this is not it. He will nickel and dime you. Well, then the owner goes into, Brady, we do not know who you are according to Facebook. You live in Idaho. We don't do pools in Idaho, and we've never worked with you. I'm wondering why. And it just turns into more and more negatives, diving deeper. The key is like I said, keep it empathetic, keep it short, and keep it to where there's no point of contact in here to try to reach out to rectify the situation. This is something what not to do. Now, this is something that you should do. There's a response here. Thank you for the feedback. I've tried privately messaging you through Yelp. If you have a moment, please look out for that message and you'll see my direct contact information. So if I'm a potential consumer coming across this negative, I see that, man, I'm trying to privately message you. I gave you all my contact information. We're trying to make it right. For you, putting yourself out of a business owner standpoint, putting yourself in a consumer standpoint, you're going to see that, wow, this business owner really takes pride in their reputation and their customer service. This is something that you want to take time and do. Now I'm going to speed this up because there might be some questions. Don't neglect employee review sites like Glassdoor and Indeed. This is really big for fran development as well, because not only are people looking to buy franchises, but they're looking on, clearly they got to hire them. So taking it full effect and hitting your Glassdoor and Indeed brand, Glassdoor and Indeed review sites head on is very important. Potential new employees are looking you up online and addressing false negative content can improve your star ranking on these sites. And it's very important to prioritize these reviews on your corporate location. So sometimes your franchisees might not handle the reputation at the local level. So what does that consumer do? They go to corporate and try to get corporate to rectify the situation with a negative review. Therefore, now sometimes that might hurt the Fran Dev sales process and the sales funnel in regards to that. So this is actually a sounding board for bad experiences, but in most cases, these actually violate because it's a spam attack on the brand itself. So these can be removed. Now, last but not least, I want to give you guys some key takeaways. Once again, we are going to get the slide with the links to help walk you through how to dispute and remove negative reviews. But negative reviews that violate terms and conditions can be disputed and removed from those review sites. It's extremely important to leave an owner's response on your negative reviews along with your positive ones. And with that positive ones and also negatives, make sure you include key category words of the services you provide. Customers, number 3, are paying attention to how you respond to your online reviews. Consumers see it. 90% of consumers are reading business owners' responses, so make sure you're doing it. And last but not least, number 4, negative reviews don't only affect a loss of business from new customers, but could also affect new hires and new franchise sales as well. So it's very important to understand that these are the major key takeaways in regards to reputation management and addressing negative reviews and business owners' responses. So from here, is there any questions or issues that you guys are currently having that we can bring value to the audience in regards to maybe circumstances you've come across with maybe business owners' responses or franchise sales or negative reviews that you might have gotten turned down because you might have not developed or disputed it the correct way?
We did get one question through chat that I'll start with. So the question was, in Google, you can manage multiple business locations. Can you do the same in Yelp? Can a franchisor own all of the Yelp listings, or can there only be managed by the franchisee? So yes, you can absolutely do this. You'll most likely need to go through Yelp support for this, depending on how many locations you as the franchisor have access to, but they do have that parent-child role. So then you would have complete access and control over all of the Yelp listings. And then any new locations that you open up, you would create from within that Yelp parent account. And then you have the ability to add users to each location. This does happen where corporate does not have control and ownership, and all the franchisees have direct control and ownership, or their suppliers do. So there are ways to work around that. Yelp can override that and lock it all up so the brand has complete control. And the individual who asked this question, you're going to ping me later and I'm happy to explain further. And also, I realize that there might be some sensitive topics that people don't feel comfortable bringing up in a public forum. So feel free to reach out to Mark or I directly through LinkedIn. I'd be happy to look into any issues that you might be experiencing. Okay, here's some
I'll
more
put our
questions.
information up here too.
How do you feel about automated response technology to reviews? Great question. I am a huge believer in responding promptly to reviews. Like the slide said in Yelp's famous stat, if you respond within 1 business day as the owner to the review, there's a 33% chance that that reviewer will update or remove the review on their own. So if you have that handled, and then on top of that, you're actively disputing illegitimate negative reviews, that's 2 out of every 3 negative reviews that you can hopefully get down for your brand. Now, of course, when it's automated, you are not going to have as much personability, but there are ways that you can draft automated responses to provide anyone who had a negative experience with a way to reach you directly, which can help devalue the review to the public. Consumer Fusion is actually working on some really cool AI technology where we will bring in review sentiment and use natural language learning processing so that our automated responses will be personalized templates based off of those keywords. So happy to chat more about that with you if you have any interest. The next question is, how long is the process to remove a review, specifically with Google? I have had reviews get removed within hours. I have had reviews take 9 months. It depends on the content within the review. And if it's low-hanging fruit, if it's a direct, clear violation, they'll come down quickly. If it's on the fence, not so much. We use AI at Consumer Fusion, so all of our clients' reviews, as they filter in and we alert our clients that they have a new negative review, our AI probability score appears. So it will give you a percentage of the likelihood of a review being able to be removed for violating guidelines. And if anything hovers above 50%, there's a good chance that that review can get removed. But again, it could be a few days, it could be a few weeks. It all depends on the content within the review. The next question is, will a review that is flagged temporarily hidden? Okay, so I have a feeling this is in regards to Glassdoor and Indeed. There are sites that will, and Health Grades, there are sites that will temporarily hide a review while their moderators are reviewing the dispute. They will alert you via email once their decision has been made. If it's denied, the review will appear. If they agree that the content needs to, that it violates guidelines and that they're removing it, then it will be removed. But if it temporarily disappears, it's usually anywhere from 3 days to 7 days. Okay, last question. Is there a time limit on how far you can go back to dispute a review? No, there is not. Yesterday, I removed a negative review for a client that was 7 years old. They were a 1-star on Yelp. Just by removing that, they now have no rating. But imagine how much business they lost over that illegitimate review being on there for 7 years. So you can go back as far as you want for any of the negative reviews that are out there.
And just so you know, a lot of people think just because it's old, it's grounds for removal. That is a myth. Those reviews will stay up because it is, or it hasn't been addressed. So just because it's old doesn't mean it can be removed. It still has to abide by the terms and conditions of that review site. And if it violates, it will be able to come down.
All
So
right,
I think
that's all the questions.
I think that's it, Lauren. So I think we're good to go here. And I think we finished just on time.
Yes, thank you so much, Ben and Mark. This is excellent content and excellent feedback from all of you. We really do appreciate it. Again, this webinar was recorded and along with the presentation deck will appear on our website early this evening. You'll be able to find that at community.franchise.org. Thank you very much again to Bryn, Mark, and the Consumer Fusion team. And again, thank you to everyone for tuning in. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.